Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Puro Gems Podcast here on the 5 Star Network. I'm your host Peps, and with me today once again is Dylan. Dylan, how are you?
It's so good to be back on, Peps. Like I told you off the air, I really appreciate you coming to me for this special episode. Special times in all of wrestling and all of the world, too. Belated Merry Christmas to you and all the wonderful Puro Gems and 5 Star Network listeners out there. Let me ask you a question before we get to what we're going to get into. What did you eat for Christmas? We didn't even talk about this off the air. What is the traditional German food for Christmas time?
Oh, yeah, now you're asking me the hard questions because I don't know what it's called.
Okay, well, give me the German name then.
I don't know exactly what it was. You should start explaining. I will look it up.
Okay, well, for me, I had ham. That's a traditional dinner. At my side, I had 2 Christmases. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that. Christmas Eve was at my house, or my apartment, and then Christmas Day was at my sister's family's. And we had ham both times, turkey at their house, potato with the ham broth. The best Christmas or any holiday dish is the potatoes. Cook them in the ham broth. They're delicious, I promise you that. Mac and cheese, and all kinds of stuff going on there. They had these chocolate-covered graham crackers that were in there. It was very tasty. Reindeer food, like Chex Mix and M&Ms and this vanilla frosting. Super tasty dessert. Had a Jack and Coke as well. I'd never done that before at Christmas, but hey, if the host says, what the host says goes, and I had to get involved with it. And it was a good time overall, and hopefully in Germany and all of the countries across the world, all the wonderful people listening, hopefully everybody had great Christmas dinners and New Year's ones as well coming up.
Yes. For me, I looked it up now. It's not exactly pork roast, but it's like something similar to it, and we had it together with Spätzle, which is a typical, where I live in Germany, a typical kind of noodles, I would describe it as, and it was delicious. My grandma cooked for us, so that was really cool. And well, have Merry Christmas, belated Merry Christmas to all of our viewers, of course, listeners and all that. And well, Japanese wrestling didn't give us the best news for Christmas. So, how do we start this off? Like I said earlier, this is a really special episode because normally we always talk about all the news, like I talk with whoever I have as a host, a guest host, on of course the first week of the month about all the news that's happening. But I decided to make this a special news episode simply because, of course, Japanese wrestling has like a lot of shows right now in December, so it's gonna be tough to find like the time that this topic deserves to get on just normal shows, and also I think this is like something so big, or could be something so big that you just need to mention it on its own, and it deserves a podcast on its own, and of course. We are talking about what is going on in All Japan Pro Wrestling currently. Well, how do I start this? On December 23rd in where we live, December 24th in Japan, All Japan posted a video on social media, I think especially on X, with the president, Fukuda, who was sitting there in a room together with with 3 actress girls wrestler.
And it was kind of like, just to set the scene a little bit, it was a very traditional Christmassy type of room. They had the couch and the love seat on the one end, and they had like, I think something in the back. It was a very festive situation we were in, and he had like a reindeer hat on as well.
Yes. It was a weird video, to be fair. And randomly, his phone started to ring, and well, he picked it up, and it was the WWE calling. Jesus Christ. I'm surprised they allowed this bit. But and it was said that an NXT wrestler will be the assassin that the president teased and will challenge either Katsuhiko Nakajima or Kenta Mihara on January 3rd for the Triple Crown Championship in the Korakuen Hall. In the video, the wrestler was described as a submission assassin and a killer catch style, which is like, people figured it out quick. Then it was one of the Orlando Catch Club. I don't know what the stable name is.
Yeah, unnamed Catch Point ripoff stable that Drew Gulak leads in NXT right now.
Yeah. I will find it out in a bit. And okay, people have said like, okay, it's either that, and some, including myself, worked themselves into a shoot and thought like, okay, that's just a joke video. And it's going to be a second part where WWE AW calls next week or Kidani calls or whatever, and it's going to be, in the end, it's going to be just Ikemen as the challenger. But well, that wasn't the case. A day later, a video was posted where none other than William Regal, who made his first public appearance promoting WWE since leaving AEW, and announced that his son Charlie Dempsey will be the assassin and will challenge the winner of the Triple Crown match on December 31st. And, well, let's talk about it. WWE is gonna send a wrestler to All Japan Pro Wrestling. Internet exploded instantly. Social media exploded instantly, of course. Because it could mean so many things. It could mean positive and negative, of course. And wherever WWE is involved, especially in Japan, there's always got to be a big discourse, and it wasn't different here. So, first of all, I will ask you this. How do you feel about this match in general, in terms of a WWE wrestler coming over to Japan to challenge for the Triple Crown belt in All Japan Pro Wrestling?
The thing is, if it were just, we take it at face value, I don't think, it could be good depending on the wrestler. Dempsey is very much, like they said, a submission style guy and everything. I'm sure he worked extensively with Hideki when he was there. I think of him as a wrestler. He hasn't really done anything in NXT, to be honest with you. There's no real push for him. He's a total mid-card guy at best in NXT. And when I look at him, knowing what WWE usually goes for with their wrestlers they think are top stars, he's not someone I think of when I think, oh, they have big plans for this guy or anything like that. But obviously his dad is very much a guy who's been across every country in wrestling, very much in the ring style that you might not be able to learn in WWE. The idea of him coming to learn a different style coming into an All Japan ring, you have to wonder if WWE would even care about that. I think that's more something they care about, Dempsey himself and Regal perhaps as well. So him coming in on its own, I don't actually mind that much. Maybe they could have a good match between the winner of Nakajima and Kento. I don't like the way they framed it because it's so stupid that why would the president want to assassinate Kento if he's the Triple Crown champion? That doesn't make any sense. And on top of it, the story is literally him trying to beat the invading Nakajima. So if he wins it back for All Japan, then the president has put another outsider to go for the title. So it makes no sense. For Nakajima, it does, but go on.
Not really, because then you're just sending an outsider to an outsider.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a weird storyline, and I don't know what is behind it, because there's clearly something going on. For Dempsey, of course, to mention it, he's of course the son of Regal, and if you have to explain his style, he's a bit like Hideki Suzuki in terms of he wrestles a lot on the map, on the mat itself. You notice that they train together, and Hideki tried to show him how to do the wrestling thing, because if you compare their moves and all of that, it's just the same. So Dempsey is going to be a good opponent for either one of them. The problem just always is it's WWE, and people are always, including myself, always skeptical whenever WWE does something.
Right.
So, with the entire storyline already being not good, and Dempsey itself not being a name that is selling tickets for a Currican Hall show. What do you think, how do you think is that helping All Japan instead of putting, I don't know, an upper mid-carder from their own promotion there in this match?
Yeah, and that's the questionable part of this, I would say. The story's weird. The way they introduced the video was just terrible. Like the video with the president, I hated that a lot. With all due respect to the actress girls, I don't think this was a great first step for them in All Japan at all. And then the idea of what you said, even if it's nothing for WWE in the grand scheme of things, it helps them by getting one of their guys extra experience, and as a favor to Regal, who's one of their soldiers, everybody knows that. And his loyalty to them after leaving AEW. If that's all it is, that still helps them some. For All Japan, they don't really gain anything from Dempsey coming in, unless this is some kind of planned excursion longer term for him. And I guess that's possible. I would say very unlikely, though. That's something we really haven't seen before with a WWE wrestler going to Japan for multiple months on end and something like that. It's just something we haven't seen before. But with AEW right now also sending people to Japan, they do have a blueprint that maybe they think they can exploit to some extent with the WWE guys. I don't think it would work that way in reality, but maybe in their vision in the president's world, and maybe other people have talked him into thinking this could be a good idea. Maybe even Hideki himself maybe have said, hey, there's a lot of great talent in NXT that we could mine, and no pun intended with the diamond mine, but we can mine for good things for our promotion. And maybe he thinks that. Again, will it happen that way in reality? I would not bet on it, to be honest. But I also think that with WWE, like you said, I think everybody's automatically, it's a red flag immediately if WWE is doing something right in Japan. It's just really tough, because of the different cultural differences between Japan and Western countries, and especially European, which everybody knows what happened with the UK scene, with WWE's meddling. That's not possible in Japan, but it is possible that they could steer a singular company in the wrong direction. That's possible. And I think that's something worth being worried about a little bit, especially when you see the behind-the-scenes machinations of Omori leaving, Kihara leaving, all of these guys that were guys backstage and important pieces leaving at the same time. It's quite a coincidence, I'll just say that, and it does raise my antenna a little bit. But right now, they have done it before. They did do it with Nakamura last year with Noah. They sent Kenta there a few years ago with Noah as well.
I mean,
and
technically, Carl Anderson as well, to be fair.
That's true as well. Yeah, people forget about that. He was in New Japan while under contract as well. So it's not like... I think people are too quick to make large leaps because of what happened in another completely different area of the world. But right now, I just take it at face value, and I still don't like what I've seen of it so far. So it's still not good. Maybe Dempsey, and like you said, stylistically, he could be a great opponent for either man. I think most people, the tide has turned a little bit to where they think Nakajima will likely retain more than Kento. As I said, the reasons behind it. It still doesn't make sense with Nakajima either, but still, we will see what happens, and maybe it'll be a great match, and hopefully it just ends there, because I just don't see what would they possibly gain other than, hey, we have this open date on the 3rd, and we can get an extra match that we don't have to burn through for Nakajima. That's like literally the only positive I can think of on that end for them.
It's just why I think it is some favor for Regal. If it's a one-off. If it's a one-off, of course. It's either a favor for like Regal, or Hideki, in terms of Regal gives something Hideki back and bringing in one of these guys over to Japan or something like that, or in the other way around, that Regal did something for Japan, or like of of course, for the past of so, like, if someone backstage owes something to Regal and they do it like that. Because it's, while WWE is on the name, for me, it feels like more, it's Regalism X All Japan rather than WWE X All Japan.
I agree with that.
For now, at least, you never know wrestling. We said
absolutely.
earlier, it can change by the 1st, January 1st, and out of nowhere, another member from NXT is coming over to the shows. We don't even know if Regal itself will be there. I don't think so, because considering he has a job to do in America.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be too shocked. Well, like,
do you think that for them as well, Dempsey coming over there is also, even if there's no grand plans for like anything like a long-term deal with All Japan, this is still an opportunity for them to scout some people, like while he's there, and if Regal were to show up. But even his son, I'm sure, will be watching intently as well. And if their match goes well, they have a banger match, and he's impressed and tells Regal, "Hey, we got to get this guy, bring him over." That I could see something like that happening as well. Like if they would come over there with the intent of at least looking at Japanese wrestlers, seeing if somebody they could see would fit in well with what they've got going on in NXT.
Regardless of whatever is the case, you give William Regal, who is known to scout a lot of talent, for the best or worst. You can decide on your own, considering if you like the talent that's got scouted or not. But you give William Regal the chance to not only scout Nakajima or Kitamura, but most importantly, Yumansai, who's teaming with Charlie Dempsey on the Yoyogi show.
Yep.
I mean, of course, it's not like, oh yeah, he's gonna jump instantly, but it's like, okay, well, he's then on the list if he does well in this match. Doesn't mean he jumps this year or jumps at all, but it means you give Regal a free opportunity to scout your top talents. Well, if they sign Leona, I would be fine with that, to be fair.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's facing Leona and his dad, Fujinami, there. So Leona could be the big prize that they see coming in. That could be something. And Fujinami's always had a great relationship with WWE. Let's not forget that.
First of all, he's of course WWE Hall of Famer, but also he was the first opponent of Regal in New Japan.
Yep.
I know that. Jesus Christ, that I know this is insane. So, it's of course, it's all like, it all feels like Regal just picked the opponents and tech partnership.
With the data we have now, that's what I think it is personally. Like, Regal is more the one driving force behind this. And NXT and Triple H and whoever, they probably don't even care that much about this. Like, they might not even care that much if it is just a Regal thing and just say, hey, good idea. Maybe we can get a guy from there. Maybe Dempsey gets a little bit more experience. No, it doesn't. I mean, realistically, does it hurt WWE at all? Losing Dempsey for a week? No. I
mean, currently on NXT, NXT's teasing a Dragon Lee versus LWO match against the No Quarter Catch Crew. Jesus Christ! And
No Quarter Catch Crew.
Yes, that's the stable name. For
Dick Gulax. Yeah.
And they're making kind of, I wouldn't say mystery, but they have not announced yet which of the three will take part in this match. So, not even in Canada are saying, oh yeah, we know that Charlie Dempsey's actually in Japan by then, so it's like they're not acknowledging this at all or something like that. So,
and they didn't even do that with Nakamura. Like they didn't really hype that at all when he faced Muto, did they?
It was set a few months later when Muto was inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, after.
It's not like they promoted in the Twitter, which is why I think people coming to the conclusion, oh yeah, they don't care or they don't. It's nothing big simply because they don't acknowledge it on social media. So I think that doesn't play effective for me. I mean, AEW never promoted something on Impact, for example.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. You're completely right about that. It's just interesting how it played out this way, but the tea leaves right now make me think it's more of a Regal thing. But ultimately, we could, in another week's time, we could be talking and everything's changed and there's more news, like you said, more people coming over, or hell, he could win the Triple Crown for all we know. Like they put it on Dempsey for whatever reason. And it's just a weird thing. And I understand people's concerns, but until we get further evidence, I'm not as quick to jump on this as this terrible thing. The president's video was worse to me than the NXT announcement, because that's one thing that I don't want to see, the president having an active role in the company or anything like that, because we've seen how that can mess with promoters and executives in the past, getting too involved with the actual show itself. And hopefully this is just a one-off thing for that as well. And you know, Dempsey going for the title, I don't have any negative or positive feelings, really. More positive than negative on the match itself. I think it could be a good match. The grand scheme of things, I'm not thinking of it bad right now. I'm taking it at face value now. But also, it's realistic to worry a little bit about the future whenever WWE does anything. I think we're all automatically thinking it that way.
You keep at least two eyes on it.
Exactly. You can't say there's no way WWE won't try to make moves here. It was interesting too. After there was so much talk. I mean, not that long ago, people were saying similar things about WWE and Noah because of the Abima deal with Muto at the head as well. And now we jump from that to this All Japan thing that nobody had any idea about before it happened.
Yes. Well, before we talk about real quick about what WWE's goals in Japan could be, I think that's like the thing with Abema is an interesting topic here, because if you would expect WWE to jump into the Japanese market with a partnership, you would expect to be the one that they shared a TV deal with, instead of a promotion like All Japan that has nothing to do with the Bemaverse in general. Because if you now look at it, that came totally out of nowhere. I know people were like always focused on, oh yeah, could there be something between WWE and Noah? But now, because of the Bema deal, of course, but now we are just going into the opposite direction. So it's interesting to see how much of it is just repaying favors and all of that. I mean, we know that Tajiri wanted to sell All Japan to WWE like 4 years ago. And Jun wasn't against it as well, seemingly.
Yep, they had him set up as a trainer at NXT. Like he almost got a job there with that, or was going to go in for a tryout. Akiyama.
Yeah, then he left All Japan for
then they got rid of him. Yes.
Rightfully so. To be fair, they got rid of Tajiri and.
Yes. And this isn't the first time WWE's poked around different companies too. There's been plenty of times in the past. There's all kinds of rumors, even about Stardom. They were poking around there, but every time they've tried to get involved, they've been shown the door. Like they have not been able to make any steady progress with any of the companies in terms of that sense of the word, of really like buying a company or anything like that. They've tried, they poked around. Maybe some people like Tajiri wanted to do it, but it's never materialized, and I don't see any reason why this should be different on that sense. Even if their dream that Triple H and all these people want to do something in NXT Japan, everyone talks about, I don't see anything that's changed that would make that more plausible for them to do now than it's ever been in the past. Or
likely the worst time to jump into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the business right now is not exactly at its hottest in Japan either. And on top of it, if that was the goal, it's WWE. They're not perfect by any means. I'm not saying they are meticulous super planners on everything. But just from my point of view, if you're trying to make a major move to Japan, why Dempsey? Like, is the guy you're sending as the figurehead for this right now? Why wouldn't it be Nakamura? That would be the main guy. Or a Japanese person that you could get in there and have them speak on WWE and say, hey, this is a great company. We've got the best wrestling, whatever they want to say. Hype it up and make it seem like something that would be palatable to the Japanese market. I just don't see Dempsey having that kind of cachet with anybody, to be honest.
Yep.
So it's not logical if that is what they're trying to do. Like, they're not handling it in a very good way, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think we can summarize it perfectly with saying we both just think that it's likely a one-off, considering it's likely a favor for Regal, but the chance that it's developing into something long-term is always there, especially with WWE, especially with the plans they've presented in the past, especially with NXT Europe that they have been teasing down for like 2 years now since after NXT UK closed, especially with always a potential NXT Japan that could happen and all of that. It's just, well,
it's just a lot harder for them to do it in a place like Japan or Mexico, the same issues, like similar issues they would face there. The culture isn't as ready for them or as indebted to them as wrestling fans, and people that run the companies are much different than the people who ran the European companies and the UK companies back then. Those people were,
especially the style they want to tell the wrestling, not in terms of stories and it's sports entertainment, but rather in terms of presented TV shows and TV tapings, something that is unusual in Japan. No one goes to Japan and says like, I'm gonna watch gonna buy a ticket to see 4 hours of NXT Japan tapings that will be aired in a year on Peacock.
Yeah,
that's not something that is usually seen in Japan with the Japanese fan base, especially with the wider audience. That's part of the reason why New Japan Strong, for example, didn't work out as well as New Japan intended to.
And even just never mind wrestling, just streaming itself in Japan is far different than it is in the Western world, like Europe or the US or anything like that. The streaming situation is much different and much less popular in Japan than it is here, where everybody's got a million streaming services, no matter who you are, pretty much. So a wrestling service like that, or a Peacock to get them, is much more feasible than in Japan. It's really hard to set that up, especially for a foreign company like that.
Yeah, there's a lot to work with. So I think the last thing we want to talk about before we go into the backstage stuff, or do you have something to add? Because we have questions later, I think.
Oh yeah. Questions are cool. I'm good now. Let's go through things.
The last thing I want to mention before you go into the other backstage stuff is, of course, there was, I wouldn't say there was an outrage, but there was definitely talk from especially Actress Girls fans about how the Actress Girls were presented in the video. You mentioned that they were like the girls being happy there, and it's kind of what you would have expected them to use them as, sadly. But the longer the video went, the worse it got somehow.
That's true. Yes, you're right.
I mean, I could be wrong, okay, and I could interpret this so badly, but the end of this segment was just a penis joke, right?
It was. It totally was. There's no other way. Like, how else could you interpret what they did?
Yeah.
So to explain this, first of all, it starts off as weird as possible in the first place. They have the president in the reindeer hat. He's getting one of them. One of the actress girls is just like has this pot thing, like this cooking thing, and just bouncing it off the top of his head for no reason, seemingly. And then he grabs it and also bounces it off of his own top of his head. Everyone's laughing and smiling. It's really, really goofy. They then go to the phone call you mentioned earlier that NXT calls in, or WWE, whatever. And he talks in English on the call, right? So that ends, and then all of them are like, oh, your English is so cool, so impressive. And he's all like, I'm going to buy you girls sushi. It's like, it's going to be the best, top grade. And they're all happy. And then he's like, hey, hand that thing over here. So they get another pot, and they're all like, oh, it's so big and thick, while it's in Miko Ano's lap, I think. So I don't know what this was all about. It was a very poor implementation of a stupid segment. And like you said, it seemed like one big dick joke at the end. I don't understand who this was for.
I mean, you know, you obviously need to mention those are actress and mostly models. So
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
them itself sexualizing themselves is not something totally unusual. Is it good that they are getting sexualized in the video itself? Is a totally different topic. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, it was more stupid than offensive. Like, it wasn't explicit in any way. You know, they were in like Santa outfits and things like that, but it wasn't like risque or anything like that. It was more silly than offensive, but it was still a terrible tone, I think, to start off with.
Yes, we have seen them wearing less clothes on wrestling shows before.
Yeah, that's always the story of wrestling. Whenever something like this happens, it's like you're guaranteed whoever it is will have been in the ring wearing less than whatever the raunchy thing supposedly. So yeah, it was, to me, it wasn't like hyper sexualized or anything like that. It was pretty tame. It was just dumb, like more than anything, in my opinion.
It was just there to prop the precedent because.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much all that was for. Maybe that's what he gained from it. He just wanted an excuse to shoot these stupid videos.
Yeah, because in the end he just sat there with 3 young women compared to, I mean, I don't know how old he is. He's definitely 50. So you know, so he was just there with some younger women and likely enjoyed it, and it was like they did the whole thing behind it. It sucks for them because they have done a great year, or like great last year, to build up themselves a good fan base. They're selling good. I mean, from what we know, they're selling well. They are having a good business there. So them getting this All Japan opportunity is always good for them because, of course, maybe you get some new fans from there. I mean, All Japan is not going to gain anything from it outside of the All Japan Actress Guild stands, and most of them are likely not coming to the shows. Well, you could attract other fans, but I don't know if you want them, considering how Sodom has a problem with that already. There's always the chance, okay, you get new fans by it. So I get it from Actress Guilds to accept the offer and do all of that because they are not uncomfortable with doing this stuff or all of that because that's pretty much their job in the end. At least they hope so. I would guess so. Especially so. So that's all okay. It's just a weird look if you start this new partnership. They, of course, especially said they are actresses and not wrestling, which counts out already that they are teaming or facing anyone from the pro wrestling world. They're just gonna be in their own universe.
Yeah.
Outside of interacting with someone in segments or something, because that's gonna happen definitely. Great Asako. We're gonna search her papa all over the place. I hope she doesn't ask the wrong people because there are definitely some intimidating people backstage in All Japan. I would not ask Suwama that.
Oh, are you otherwise kidding? This might have been his idea. This all might have been his idea.
That's also true. Yes. It's interesting. How do you feel about this partnership overall? Not only just about this segment, but just overall what this partnership could mean for Actress Girls and especially All Japan, considering it's gonna all happen on All Japan shows.
Yeah, like I said, the segment was stupid and bad, but it's not like it was so unbelievably terrible that they could never come back from it or anything like that. It was a dumb, bad segment. It's not the
Yes.
end of the world. I just thought
Yes.
it was a bad vibe to end the year after everything was so positive, I would say. For Actress Girls in particular, now, didn't they mention that? I feel like when Yappy was doing her stream about the new Ice Ribbon president, somebody had asked her about Actress Girls, and she kind of mentioned what you said, that they were viewed as not the same as regular wrestlers, correct?
Yes. So the story here is, Fuka also said it in the segment she had with the president when the partnership was announced. The president said something like, "Yeah, we want your wrestlers to come our shows or something," and Fuka was like, "They are not wrestlers. They are actresses. That's something different." So they're clearly saying they're not wrestlers. They're
Yeah.
actresses. And
Okay.
to go into detail why this is a bad thing, on their shows they have these point matches,
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
which pretty much mean they are admitting that wrestling is fake. Especially their title matches are fake and like decided backstage who wins them, and the fans know that. So what's the bad thing about it, and why doesn't like Ice Rim or the Evo Joshi girls couldn't wrestle them now? Well, if you are wrestling with someone who has been wrestling in matches that are officially called fake by their own promotion, you're officially also seen as a fake wrestler.
Yep.
So in the end, you're just exposing your own promotion by it. Which is why Actress Girls is just doing everything on their own. Which is why Ice Rim and the partnership between Ice Rim and Actress Girls went like 3 weeks.
Yep.
And which is why, for example, someone like Asahi or something left to Actress Girls and never appeared in another promotion again. You
And
can
why?
see this good or bad thing. That's another thing. It's just the reason why it's just gonna be them on the shows.
And why this promotion is so weird. Right? Like this cross-promotional thing with All Japan, one of the most tried and true conservative promotions, I would say, for a long time. Like, they, to me, do... If you look at All Japan, up until last year with the Voodoo Murder stuff, they really did less angles than pretty much any of the major Japanese companies, in my opinion, especially New Japan, which is like very Americanized in a lot of ways. Noah did a lot of crazy stuff. All Japan didn't necessarily run a lot of big angles and stuff. And so now you do something like this, which is completely in the vein of a sports entertainment, like to the definition, like you said, it's not even meant to be a real fight. It's meant to be entertainment completely in Actors Girls. And like you said, there are a lot of people that like that style. Like they are into Actors Girls and they like what they're doing. And I'm not judging anybody at all or saying that that's lesser. But in Japan, you have to understand that it's going to be viewed as different. So for them to be in All Japan is such a strange turn for a company that it doesn't make a lot of sense at face value. Like you said, maybe this is some way to try and make somehow Fuka wants to make it seem more legit or whatever. Like, yeah, they're not wrestlers, but by God, they can still go. I don't know what that really is going to lead to. I don't foresee it making a big difference, honestly, in All Japan. I think that the Actress Girls promotion is it's not big, it's not like there's a ton of fans, like there's a gold mine of a promotion that they're sitting on. It just seems like maybe you can get a few different type of people to come in, but I think it's pretty unlikely, in all honesty. I think there's significant differences between AWG and an All Japan to where I just don't think it'll make a big difference, and it just seems very puzzling on paper. Maybe we'll be proven wrong. I was talking to Striga about it, my co-host on the Eastern Lariat, and he mentioned maybe it's something where All Japan is trying to lay groundwork to have a title, like a women's division itself, for All Japan. I think that's a step. We're still a few steps away from that, and I don't know if they would be who I would look to. But if you have if you take the Evo girls on their own, which is very small in number right now, maybe you could work together with an Actress Girls that gives you depth that you could pull from in your own system, where you don't have to go out to a million different indies or anything like that are in Joshi right now. Because let's face it, the Joshi scene isn't exactly booming at any level at the moment, but especially on that one. So maybe they're just trying to set groundwork for something with stability. Work with this singular company that nobody else will work with. We get them all to ourselves. We won't see them in Sendai, Pure J, Marvelous, Ice Ribbon. They're going to be ours for this specific purpose. Maybe that's what the point is that they get something that they can have to themselves and will be stability for some kind of plan with the women. Although I'm still a little skeptical that they would make a women's title in All Japan, but that seems like something that could be a possibility.
I mean, of course, what needs to be mentioned here is that Actress Girls in All Japan already had a partnership back in 2017. With Ano, Himeka, Natsupoi, Tamnakano, and all of them coming over here and there. So of course, there's also the past and all of that.
Didn't the ownership change like between then and now? Like, didn't they change stuff around? The colors broke off with Saki, all caps, and all that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Actress Girls ended. It's weird. Actress Girls ended in 2021 with a Hurricane Halt or something like that. And then many of those talents left. Hikari Shimizu, so the entire Colors crew, Yuno Mizumori, like Yuno Mizumori and other freelancers stopped appearing there. Kakure Sekiguchi, Tai Honma, Maiko Osaki, there's so many of them. Momokogo, Momotani, Amisore, Miyuki Takase, all of them stopped appearing. Then, of course, in Actress Girls. And then there's new format started with Act Wrestling in 2022, where some of the wrestlers stayed, and of course there were a ton of new rookies coming in. Likely the most known of is Kuki, for example, from the rookies. You had a few of them at least. Of course, and then of course you had the ones that you know from before. Miku Ano, Natsumi Sumikawa, who has been returning a bit sooner and has been in Stardom before, for example.
Yeah, she was Shozuki in the original Stardom that they brought in. Yeah, so they have some people. Again, it's nothing to disrespect their wrestlers or talent. It's just different at the end, and it's looked upon as different, which makes this very weird. But what do you think? Like, what do you think All Japan's plan? Like, do you think there's some kind of grander scheme of this, or is it just, hey, let's bring the Actress Girls in and see if we can get somebody from there? And they didn't even think about it beyond that too much.
I think they just want to get more hone. Okay, that sounds so weird, but that's legit what I think. For the women, they have Yuma Awagi, they have Atsuki Awagi, they have Rising Ayano, they have the Kento Miharas, Yuma Ansai, all of these good-looking young guys.
Yeah, totally.
I could see them trying to get the old horny man to the promotion by presenting the female talents. And it's bad. It's a bad thing to assume, but that's just what I expect always with Japanese wrestling.
What you mentioned was true. I mean, they did have a relationship with Actress before, back when they were more of a normal Joshi company, so to speak. And they've had people on from Ice Ribbon before, like Yukihi had wrestled like years and years ago when she was still in Ice Ribbon. They would bring people in for like just tour shows. Second match on the card, there'd be a Joshi tag match. Pretty much no real meaning to it, just an extra date for the girls, and you get an extra match on your show. But they never really did anything with it. And they tried to do this Evolution Girls thing that Suwama obviously spearheaded. And that, I mean, hey, I like them, but it's only a couple of people. At the end
it's
of the
gonna take a while to build up something there.
Exactly.
And especially considering Chi-Chi and Zones, even though Zones gets a lot of good spots, they are not respected enough to put them head-to-head with certain talents, and, you know, they can beat a Mayuki, for example.
Yeah, yeah. And that could be another good thing about this, if that is a part of it. With the actress girls, the potential for political interplay is much less, I would argue, if you wanted to do that. Whereas if you're bringing in Ozaki and you want her to do a job to somebody, that might not be as easy as it would be for the actress girls overall. So you're dealing with some egos on the indie scene in various ways, not just her, but a lot of them. So if you have these actress girls as your women's division, de facto, you don't have to worry about those kind of headaches. You can basically do whatever you want and put your Evo girls however you want them to be, and without having to worry about that.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the positive part here. We can only assume and see what happens. The Hurricane matches, they have a battle royal, and I think it's a tag team match between the Royal faction on the third. Could be wrong. I think so.
Does this make sense in their storylines? Because somebody had told me that this is like all out of whack with what they're doing in Actress Girls.
I don't watch Actress Girls enough to tell you.
Yeah. Me either.
if it makes sense, but from the looks of it, it's just the Royal faction going head to head with of course Goto.
Yeah, of their wrestlers, I mean, you're not getting grade A work rate, in my opinion. Like, if you look at the Actress Girls themselves, anyway. But they have a couple that could be something. It could be pretty good if they get time to develop it. Like, Aono is a decent worker, I think, to putting in there against Chi-Chi and Zones. Sumikawa, obviously a veteran, has some good stuff to her. I think there's a little bit of talent there. But they're not, if you're a fan of pure wrestling, like the best Joshi wrestling, I don't think that you're going to be impressed with what they put on, even in the All Japan ring.
Yeah.
They're more of an entertainment style company, like an idol fed.
Yeah, we will see what they are planning to do with them. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be something new. Positive or negative, of course. And, well, I hope it's good, but I can't tell you. It's weird what's going on with World Japan right now.
Yeah, everything, like all of this together is so weird, and it all happened so fast. It was like 3 weeks ago, none of this was on the agenda, and now it is all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yes, and speaking of weird, we have one last really weird news. Out of nowhere. It was out of nowhere. It was announced that Takao Mori and Fumihito Kihara are both leaving All Japan. Kihara is already left. He's the ring announcer for All Japan for like past 30 plus years, and of course. Takao Mori was like there since the Baba days. Took a break for like 10 years between 2000 and 2010, I think. But also has been a important guy backstage in backstage in All Japan for a while now, and both of them have, well, a lot to say backstage from what we know. And now, two of them leaving, on top with the WWE news, of course, could be a coincidence. I think it's a coincidence, to be fair. But it tells us there's another backstage power struggle going on in All Japan. Yeah. And that is never good news. Well, it could be good news, but it's always like, trouble is rarely good. So,
no, nobody wants backstage drama in their company like that, especially when it results with people leaving. And somebody who was, like two people that were important to the company, and we know that.
Oh, yeah, they were really important. I mean, it's not only that they are important backstage, but also for the image of the company. You only have two people in the company left that are from the Bubba days, which is Wada and Fuji.
Yeah, that's
everyone else is left. You could obviously say, that it could end up being good. Because we have seen it last year that Tajiri pretty much got fired, and the company changed to the good part. So my question is, how do you feel about this news of two more important parts of All Japan leaving like that randomly out of nowhere?
I definitely agree with what you said about it being like a power struggle situation. That has that vibe to me for sure, where, and again, we don't know what exactly caused it or whose side who was on or what they wanted and what differences they wanted to make. But, for example, maybe even this actress girls thing, maybe Omori was saying, hey, we're pushing too much of the women too fast. Do we need to do this? And then other sources were saying, no, this is a great idea and we have to do it. And things escalated to the point where all of these changes, again, the last week really, there's been so many things that we didn't expect to happen that did happen. And maybe people were arguing against some of these things. Maybe not all of them. And again, maybe Omori wanted the women's thing. We don't know. We can always speculate. But a lot of stuff changed at a very fast pace. And then these guys leave. That kind of gives us a clue that something had to have happened to make them leave. Maybe, and like you said, as far as the WWE stuff, that may have just been a coincidence in and of itself. I'm not ready to attach any one thing to anybody. But they had to be leaving for a reason. Omori didn't just wake up one day and say, that's it, I've had enough, I want out for no reason. And everyone's like, what the hell? Like, what, you loved it here yesterday and now you want to leave? I'm not buying that happening. I think there had to be some reasons perhaps that led it. And for Omori as a wrestler, I mean, where could he go at that point? There's no real reason for him to do it at face value. So it had to be something we're not aware of, and we can only speculate on based on the changes that we see happening all at once.
I mean, to be fair, Tajiri got world champion in Kyosho Pro after 3 days, and we also asked there what he can do. No, but yeah, one guy leaving is one thing with Takao leaving. Yeah. Two important guys leaving at the same time is fishy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what we had last year with Izanagi, Tajiri, and of course Jake Lee leaving. This year we have it with Omori and Kihara. Of course, you can always go by it. Wherever you have momentum going on, or wherever you have something good going on in Japanese wrestling, change is always coming. Especially in Japanese wrestling, but in wrestling in general.
Yeah.
We have seen it literally in New Japan with Tanahashi getting appointed as a president, while everyone expected or thought, oh yeah, things are going well with business-wise, the Tokyo Dome is selling well, the shows in general are selling really, really well. So everyone expected, okay, Obari is doing a good job, and out of nowhere he got fired. So things are always changing with momentum, and people are trying to get more power, and something is going the right way. So this could just be a typical wrestling politics. But with all the stuff going on in between that and the WWE stuff, and randomly an actress girls collab, and the president going pretty much on screen now, it's an interesting time. That should not happening all at the same time. I don't think it will have any influence on the product, but it could influence the vibe you will have with World Japan coming into the next year, because it's always different with international fans and Japanese fans, because I can never tell you how a Japanese fan feels about that, because they randomly surprise me always with stuff. But at least first, international fans are some people that pay attention. Well, whatever they've built up in the last year, they are really quickly tearing it apart again. For me, it's just a wait-and-see game.
Yeah,
but
that's
a
good point.
See why people are getting really, really worried about it.
And all of it just happened so fast. Again, if all of this had happened in the last year, spread out, I think maybe it wouldn't have been so jarring and so panicking early on. But it all happening all at once, people will draw conclusions. And a lot of time I think it's human nature and fan nature as well to always kind of worry about things and think of the worst. Because we've seen things happen where terrible things come from situations like this and people get burned. We know that it's happened in the past. So I can totally understand why the fans, especially internationally, would feel that way. We'll see if it makes a difference. The only hope we can have is, like you said, with last year with the Tajiri thing, that turned out to be a positive move at the end of the day. That helped out a lot, and things changed. And hopefully this maybe can lead to some big things, or at least positive things. I don't think about big things, but at least a positive thing going forward, or at the very least, not disrupt what they've already done such a great job building throughout 2023.
And that's all we can hope here. So, I would say we are coming to a few questions. We don't have many, but at least a few that we will answer here. And then we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
We will start with Black Saber Jr. on Twitter at @TheDetroitDon //. Do you think this will lead to anything else with All Japan and WWE? I think we replied, we answered it earlier. It seems to be more of an on-off, one-off thing than something regular. But it wouldn't be shocking if it's going to be something more and more frequently happening if WWE wants to.
Yeah, exactly. A shout out to Black Saber Jr. for asking the question. We really appreciate it. I'll kind of follow up on that a little bit. What do you think of the idea that they would want to, again, kind of to bridge off of what I said it with Dempsey winning the title, which I don't think is very likely, to be honest. But what if they just said, look, April comes around and they send an NXT guy for the Carnival, perhaps. They go on a decent tour there. You get experience like that if that's something they're interested in. Get a chance to see the culture. Maybe scout some more if they want. And All Japan gets a new guy and a fresh matchups in their Carnival that they can kind of build upon. Do you think that's something you could see as a possibility?
Yes and no. All about who. They are not going to send over someone in need on TV.
Yeah, exactly. It would have to be like an NXT guy, like a Dempsey level.
It would need to be Dempsey, because I don't see anyone outside of Dempsey, first of all, having the interest to work All Japan.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, who would even want to do that there?
And
I'm sure there's some names that's a fan of Japanese style wrestling who would want to go there. I'm sure there's some people in NXT.
I could see someone like Drew Gulak or so trying to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is just, of course, you need to include the politics with first of all, someone needs to pitch it to Triple H. Hey, he wants to do a Champion Carnival. Can you do it? And all that. So I think if anyone does it, then it's, of course, Dempsey.
Yeah, he would be the most likely one.
Or someone else that Hideki trained with. The brother, I don't know how he's
Julius
called.
Creed.
No, the brother of Gable Steveson, the other one.
Oh yeah, Damon Kemp.
Damon Kemp, someone like that. Someone that Hideki knows. So there definitely needs to be a connection between All Japan and the rest of there that he will work there. But otherwise, I think
totally agree with that.
Expect close to nothing.
Yeah, and then, I think that's the most likely outcome, is that it's more of a one-off, and not, don't get your hopes up too much. But if it is somebody, I agree with what you said. Hideki would have to vouch for them, and Regal would probably have to give it a good word as well.
And the second question is, do you think this will lead to All Japan, his second question, do you think this will lead to All Japan trying to do more stuff with American promotions? In brackets, AW, TNA, RH, NWA, LOL. I think that's really interesting, because they definitely will see how the tweets did with WWE involved. Like, I didn't check it today, but the first tweet where it was teased that it's gonna be WWE talent had like over 4,000 likes and like 3 million impressions, which is a lot for All Japan. So I definitely could see them trying to tap in and trying to partner up with American promotion, especially if they, considering how the other promotions are doing with it. I don't know if it's going to be AEW or something, or TNA, because I don't know if TNA and Japan will get along or something. But I could see them at least trying to bring over more overseas talents if they look at Dempsey and what hype it generated and then decided, well, maybe we should bring over more foreigners, because it's not something All Japan does frequently, at least recently, compared to other promotions. They had Cyrus and Ryan Davidson. That's it.
Yeah, and they've had a unique cross section of foreigners in the past. I mean, people like Francesco Akira got his start in All Japan. They brought in Joel Redmond a few years ago from England, and you're bringing these guys who are not TV stars. Gresham had a run last month as well.
Oh yeah, true.
There, so that could be something maybe TNA might see and maybe see there. I mean, Daniels had the match last year with AEW as well, but that didn't really lead to anything. It just seems like they're not in a position to be flying in all of these guys like a Bushiroad company or anything like that all the time. So they make do with what they have, and what they do the best they can. And I think they've done a great job considering their place on the totem pole in Japanese wrestling. Cyrus was a complete success for his role that they put him in All Japan as the new generation Vader, big foreign guy. He did great in that role, and they seem like they like him a lot, and that led to Davidson coming in. Seems like it's good. And NXT guy coming in is an entirely different level. And who's to say that? Again, I'm not trying to be negative for no reason, but who's to say that the fans wouldn't reject this guy who has no real footprint in Japan coming in for the Triple Crown? Let's say that comes in and does a terrible number, like that Triple Crown match, totally tanks, and they're not happy with it. Would that change their plans, I wonder? Because we don't know how the fans are going to react to this in Japan, the real fans, not the international ones. How will they react to this basically unknown guy getting a shot right away for the world title? That's an interesting point of view that I don't think people have considered enough overall. But I think in terms of them wanting, I think everybody in Japan wants to get into America with the dollar being there, that you would want to ideally have something there. But I think it's going to be difficult right now because, as we mentioned earlier, the scene itself in Japanese wrestling is not hot right now. If the entire scene had risen up more, we're coming off the pandemic and a lot of all that, blah, blah, blah. If it had been risen up more, I think you would have a better chance of that. I think it would be really hard to do that more. But hey, we'll see where this goes with NXT. If they do, maybe it goes well and it goes great, and they want to do more of a back and forth that we can't really visualize right now. And if not, I think that a lot of the other companies work with each other. AEW already works with New Japan primarily, and but they have ventured out at times with different stuff. But I think All Japan definitely wants that. It's something to keep in mind, but I think it's more likely that this comes and goes, and maybe if there's anything more in terms of a working relationship with an American company, it won't be for another year or two at least. I think they're not in a good place right now for that.
Yeah, especially considering how they are not in the need of bringing in AEW, Impact, RH, or whatever talents right now. At least long term, like late does, for example, where they just bring in people and be their own guys all the time. Okay, then to the next question. Where is it? Just to go through it. Y2KL asks us, will we see some kind of World Collide special between All Japan and NXT? Just to quickly answer that, I think that's way too early to say, and considering how WWE normally does their partnerships, looking at Evolve, looking at Progress, they would not give any promotion that kind of spotlight.
Yeah,
At least on the wins. Of course, with Triple H, it could all change and all of that, but I don't see it coming yet.
And if they did it, it would get a lot of talk about it if Triple H wanted to do something like that. But I just think it's hard for me to envision that because of what you said. When has that ever happened before? It'd be something totally different. So my gut is telling me no, but if this works out again, and we haven't even gotten to match 1 of this NXT and All Japan thing, and we're talking right now, so we have to keep that in mind too. We have to see how things go, and maybe in a few months we'll have a better answer. But right now, my gut says no. But it is possible if things go well and they're happy with how things go.
Correct. Yusuf Ahmed, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Do you think they may continue with him, so Charlie Dempsey, getting an excursion in Japan after this match to round his game, and it may be an option for future recruits to develop fast in Japan? Like we just mentioned, it's realistic, yes, but of course, there needs a lot of things to go right. First of all about how long the excursion is, because you cannot just go to I don't know, some mid-carder to Damon Camp, since we just mentioned him, and say, oh yeah, you're going to Japan for the next 6 months, please move your stuff, you will not see your family. It's not that easy, and it's not gonna be that easy. So excursions are always tough. If it is a long-term thing, and here, if I could at least see them, maybe some doing like a 1-month tour at best, nothing more. It would definitely be in a way how NXT could develop their recruits faster. But then again, All Japan is All Japan and should be All Japan. All Japan should not be, let's train NXT talents for WWE because WWE can't teach them much more than they already did. Which I think would also be ridiculous for just WWE using another promotion as their feeder promotion or training promotion, which they did before with other promotions, Evolve especially.
And would WWE is that something they would even think about? Like, hey, we need them to learn this completely different style, because everything we have known about them in the past is that they want total control in the style of wrestling. They want it to be the WWE homogenized style. So would they even want guys to learn different stuff, or would they see that as like, no, we need you to wrestle WWE style, which is still homogenized from the Japanese style much more than it used to be. But would they even want to think that way? They're like, oh, they need to go this way to this different place to develop for 6 months, like you said. Would they even think like that, I wonder?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I could see it for certain talents. It's not about who, because someone like Dempsey, who definitely has his strengths in this style, that you can wrestle in All Japan easier than in WWE, it makes sense. But it's not going to be like they will send over, I don't know, someone that has nothing to do with the All Japan style, that has no connection with it and came from like some kind of football college and doesn't even know what All Japan is. Then it makes like no sense to send them over to All Japan, because it doesn't help anyone there. If anyone gets the excursion, I think then it's someone that has a connection to All Japan in some form, which is in the end Dempsey or some of the Hideki guys that are still in WWE.
Right.
Which is good and bad, to be fair. To be an Hideki guy, but that's another thing.
Yeah, that's true. And didn't for somebody like Dempsey, he he had wrestled before he came to WWE.
Yes,
with Evolve and Progress, and trained in New Japan a little bit.
He was trained in New Japan, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So he probably was interested in that too for that reason as well. He never really got to develop there before he got to WWE, but maybe this is something that was on his checklist that he wanted.
Yes. Then a perfect question for that is Far Ask. Shout out to him. Do you feel this is purely William Regal testing the waters on his son, getting reps in elsewhere in interest of his son to become a better, well-rounded pro wrestler who's not homogenized to being stuck only knowing the WWE style or system? And that's just pretty much what we just said. Yeah, it's definitely that case because, well, nothing against Dempsey, but he's the least WWE guy that you can imagine.
And when you look at him too, it's like, is this somebody they even have big plans for? Because when I look at him, I don't see WWE star, like main event player. Like I don't think he's shown that level for what they want. It's nothing against him as a talent at all. It's just I don't think he fits in with their stereotypical star stereotype, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes, I could see Regal trying to build up a future for his son if he gets released, which is not a lot.
Yeah.
To be fair, because he decides to leave WWE or something like that. So it's definitely most like 90% of it is just Regal wanting to give his son an opportunity that he wouldn't get in NXT or the main roster likely in the next 2 years or so.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to say thank you, Yusef and Far as well. We really appreciate the questions.
And of course, Far asked the second question, which follows up on that. Do you think Regal get more dates for his son in the future for other companies? So, other companies, of course, I think Noah's one to mention, considering they work together kind of with the Abema deal now. Of course, there are also Promotions America. They are working together now with Reality of Wrestling.
Is that the
Booker T promotion?
Yeah. Okay.
Where Jolly Dempsey already wrestled, for example, against Axiom in like a really good match. So there's like definitely a lot of possibilities it could get, and Regal getting his son a day in All Japan out of nowhere just tells us if he wants to, he could pull off likely most promotions.
And to be fair, for all the talk about All Japan and all the things that were in flux that we mentioned, WWE hasn't exactly been the most stable company the last year, with things getting sold, people coming in and out in power, Vince going in all these weird-ass directions. Like, they're not exactly, on stable ground either lately. There's a lot of changes that have happened there, and some things we just don't know how it will play out long-term for them with Endeavor and people in charge and what, Nick Khan would think about things. Like, these are things we can't really say for certain, and it may change in the future as well.
Yes. And then the last question from Podcast Andy. Do you think WWE's endgame is working with New Japan by trying to let them know they're willing to work with other promotions in Japan as well, like Noah with Nakamura and All Japan? I mean, the thing about WWE is the history proves there, while they seem to not be totally against partnerships, their goal of the partnership is always to be the number one. And in Japan, that wouldn't be the case if they're working together with All Japan, with New Japan. So yep. I think the only way they would interact with them is just being totally against them and deciding to be a strong, considering what they have sold in the past, a strong number two maybe with the main roster. If they introduce NXT, then it's like maybe top 10. Someone that tries to take down New Japan and tries to be the sole number one with the help of other promotions. But then, considering we have United Japan Pro Wrestling now, on all of that stuff, considering how that will work out. I don't think WWE can start a war there together with All Japan or Noah against New Japan. So it's gonna be, regardless how it goes, it's gonna be always WWE versus everyone.
And you could argue the same. I mean, in a lot of ways, New Japan is the same with their working relationships in the past, in the very recent past. Look at how they've matched up against Noah when they've had these interpromotional shows. Who was clearly the alpha of that relationship? It's obvious that New Japan got a big advantage over Noah in many ways. They're not going to just fold up for WWE and let them take over. New Japan, they're wolves too. They're not going to be victims.
At least in Japan, like you can't argue about that. That AEW is liberally them in America, but then of course you need to mention, though, New Japan is owning them in Japan as well by Danielson's got to lay down for Okada. Likely Ospreay's laying down for Okada as well as soon enough. If not, like there's a good chance that David Finlay is winning the belt over New Japan, over WWE guy, over an AEW guy. We had FTR losing tag belts to Bishamon in Japan this year and all of that. So it's always like there's more 50-50, except for the talent getting signed away in terms of creative than it would be with WWE. WWE would not send over whoever you want, and they will,
Yeah, I just think that them trying to formulate an alliance to take out New Japan, I think that's a really unlikely scenario, to be honest. For the reasons I just said, and you are correct about them in America, they don't have nearly as much leverage in the U.S. Or foothold to even make demands like that. But in Japan, they are not to be trifled with. Like New Japan can hold their own, even against WWE in Japan. And I would not test them at all. And I don't think WWE is stupid enough to try that, to be honest. So we will see what happens on that end. But still, I know that there was talk maybe a year or two ago about somebody like one side approached the other, New Japan and WWE, about something. And we've seen them kind of test the waters back and forth. Even when Tanahashi was very early in his career, he talked about in his book about thinking about going to WWE for a short period of time. He mentioned, and way back 30 years ago, in 1990, they were part of the alliance with the original New Japan and All Japan and the WWF at the Dome. They ran a show together, all three companies. So it's something they're always thinking about, always trying to make something happen. But the logistics of it make it so hard between the companies working together. Even in the same countries, if two companies work together, there's always politics and everything goes to crap pretty much eventually. So let alone something like that, I think it would be really, really difficult to pull off.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially with New Japan. I could see, like we said before, there definitely is always the chance that they decide, okay, we partner up with Noah or with All Japan and create some feeder promotion there. There's always a chance with both, of course, New Japan and WWE. New Japan more likely currently than New Japan than WWE. There's always a chance, but I don't see them teaming up anytime soon. At least in a full-blown relationship. I could see someone like, what happened this year with Carl Anderson coming over happening, for example, more frequently, or like at least one every 2 years.
And even a few years ago, remember they brought in Liger to NXT for his one-off match as well. So you could see something like that happening, a one-off special when they need it, bring somebody over. That would happen. Again, Liger had roots in America to do a match like that. Anyway, which not all of the New Japan roster would with the WWE level company. But still, I could see something like you said, a one-off type of deal. I could definitely see being a possibility. A relationship, I think, is a stretch too far.
I mean, Jesus, where was I? You can. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but you can expect in the next 5 years that Shinsuke Nakamura is gonna have a Tokyo Dome match before he retires, likely on the WWE contract. So there's definitely gonna be something in the future, but not a full-blown partnership. And
yeah.
Wait, I think with that we are over it.
Just once again, one more time. Thank you, Port Gasandi, and Y2KO earlier too. I forgot to shout you out, but I really appreciate the questions and the effort, guys.
Yes, I always appreciate the questions. It's always cool to see people caring about this stuff. And with that, I think we talked about it. Over an hour, you will have your full coverage on what's gonna happen soon enough. I think before we wrap up the show, you should quickly go over the Yogi show on the 31st with the card, and then we can wrap this up. Now I need to open the card.
Yes, we will do that when we know the card. So
I will go through them from the main event from top to the bottom. No? Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ, this card is. So, I'm sorry that it takes longer than it should, but
technical difficulties, it's okay.
So, here we go. Is this everything? I think so.
They kind of drug this out, to announce in the card. I mean, they kind of cut it close to the end because there was a while it was 4 matches up until
they came out of nowhere. Now 10 or so.
Yeah.
We have a Gaora TV title prelim match: Minoru Tanaka, Naruki Doi, and Koji Iwamoto against Blackman Saray, Takuya Nomura, and Fuminori Abe. In likely going to be the opening match, which is a cool match.
Yeah.
Then we have All Japan versus DDT, Raizumi Hayato and Atsuki Aoyagi versus Yuki Ueno, who is currently the KOD Openweight Champion, and Toi Kojima, which is a cool match. It's going to be pretty fun. Then we have...
Do you think there's a chance one of the All Japan guys could win and get a title shot coming out of that?
Not a title shot, but Toi will definitely lose.
Yeah.
Then we have a 6-man tag team match. Suwama Hideki Suzuki and Hikaru Sato against Minoru Suzuki, Hakuto Mori, and Davey Boy Smith Jr., making his All Japan return debut. He was planned to be in the Champion Carnival 2020, and now he's finally getting his tour. Good for him, I guess. We have the return match of Shotaro Ashino. He's teaming up with T-Hawk and Kuroshio Tokyo Japan and Seigo Tachibana.
Jesus. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe that team overall.
Then we have the NXT match, of course, with Fujinami and Leona teaming together against Charlie Dempsey and Yuma Ansai. Then we have Rei Ayabe and Tsuchi Ishikawa against, who is it? I think it's Yoshitatsu and Yuma Owagi. Yes. You
would have ideally wanted something much better for Aoyagi, in my opinion, after the year he's had.
Yeah, much better. Then we have it's not in the way it's happening, but I'm just looking for Twitter right now. Yeah, then a wild one, Takao Mori's last match. We have Takao Mori, Ryuki Honda, Ryo Inoue against Mitsuya Nagai, and now the surprising names, Kumarashi and Koji Doi are back.
Oh, they're back. Oh,
they're back. For Mori, they're back. I hope it's long term because they're awesome as a tag team, and the tag division of All Japan could always need them. But I don't.
Let's just face it, Peps. Omori was done with this company as soon as they changed his theme music from Get Wild. we knew it was over.
We knew it was over. Then we have for the All Japan Junior Heavyweight title match, a Lindemann defending his belt against Dan Tamura. You would hope a title change happens. I think a title change happens, but you never know with All Japan in the junior division.
It would be a stunner if he doesn't win. He was built up perfectly through the tournament that led him to get this title shot. There's nobody else really native that could challenge Lindemann for this. It's time for that to end. give Dan his props here.
Yes. Likely the co-main event we have Jun and Rei Saito deciding that nobody's worthy challenging them on the Yogi show, which would have not happened anyway considering the tag league, but the tag league winners get to shit later, but it's another topic. So they decided to face off in a brother versus brother match. Jun Saito versus Rei Saito. For the first time since they're back from the excursion, it's one of the more interesting matches on the card, to say it like that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. We saw Rei in the DDT tournament. They were both in the Champion Carnival, and now they face off against each other. Like you said, it's just interesting to see who will win. So far, Rei has gotten more spotlight than June, so we'll see how this match, maybe that'll light a spark in him.
Yeah. The last singles match, I think Jun won it. So it's going to be interesting as well, because Rei has something to prove there as well in the Brother vs. Brother match. And then, of course, the main event, the match. The All Japan, likely it's going to be the All Japan match of the year, the most anticipated match All Japan had in, I don't know how long, 2-3 years at least. It's Kenta Miyahara challenging, oh Jesus, the graphic is saying Kenta Miyahara, so without a, okay, perfect. Kenta Miyahara against Katsuhiko Nakajima, number 2 in the rivalry, and, well, like I said, anything other than match of the year contender would be disappointing here. So
the expectations are so high based on the Noah match they had in July. That's a match everyone points to. And and I think that's the expectation, is that they will even beat that.
I think they should. I mean, considering how good they are, normally they should easily top that with now the extra mile of storytelling they can do, especially in the build-up. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be a great match. I'm still expecting a title change.
Yeah, I think me too. Even though the storyline is stupid and messes it up with the assassin, I just think I can't see Kento losing twice without getting his win over Nakajima. My brain cannot make that leap.
I still think my last prediction is that Shotaro Ashino is going to be Triple Crown Champion by the end of January, considering he still has a shot. They have a really big show where last year in 2023 they ran 2022 I think it was, or 2023, where they ran Yuma Awagi versus Kenta Miyahara. I think it was this year in February, before he dropped the belt to Nagata.
Yeah, they did.
This venue, so they will definitely do something big there. So I would guess it's going to be Kento versus Ashino there, and Ashino is winning the belt and holding it until whoever wins the champion carnival, which I
still
could be Ryuki Honda.
Yeah, that's somebody we speculated on in the prediction show. I mentioned Honda as a likely candidate for the carnival. I would not completely write off a draw in the Kento and Nakajima match. And you build to a third match between them to give Kento one more chance. You can do whatever you want to do with the title after that. It would not surprise me if they do it. But in my gut, I think that the simplest conclusion is Kento just wins. If Nakajima wins, again...
You just don't know how long you have Nakajima if you don't have him signed off.
Exactly. Yeah, so I would be surprised if that happened. I think Nakajima winning straight up is the least likely of the three. I think Kento winning, like you said, it protects you because you don't know what his big plans are overall. The draw saves you. I can see Nakajima sticking around for the carnival at least, but again, we kind of addressed this on our prediction show. I don't think the year of 2024 ends with him in All Japan. I think that he will leave before the end of the year. At the end of the day, but he could stick around for a little bit longer. But I wouldn't put money on it. If he were to leave soon, like by the end of January, it wouldn't be a surprise either, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope he at least does the carnival, but yeah, not really.
Me too. As a fan, that's what I'm rooting for most, is for him to do the carnival run.
And yeah, with that we are through. We talked 1.5 hours about all kinds of different topics of All Japan. This could end. This podcast could age really badly or really good. I think really good. Of course, thank you, Dylan, for listening to the for being on the podcast. You have all the time here now to promote whatever you have cooking.
Check out the Eastern Lariat. We had our prediction show. It's coming out. It was a lot of fun. We got a lot of predictions from the listeners. We rated them on a scale of 1 to 5, likely to unlikely. We had some fun with that. We threw our own stuff out there. How will it turn out? I don't know. We'll be back with the January 4th show talking about the Tokyo Dome and maybe a little bit about the other companies. But for sure, I will cover the other companies' big shows on the Patreon, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. Just $5 a month or $50 a year. You get 2 months free if you put them all there. Get the whole year together. Good deal, good stuff, all kinds of content for all the major companies. I cover pretty much everything in Japan. Occasionally dip into some historical stuff. I need to get to the end of the 90s project, but I will do that. And most importantly, check out us on Twitter @Eastern Lariat. Keep your eyes peeled for that at the start of the year. We're putting the forum up on our Twitter. Vote for our year-end awards. Everything in Japanese wrestling is in play. We've got some really cool awards. We named them. We have special names, special awards for everybody. It's a big deal, the biggest awards show we've ever had in 7 years. So keep your eyes peeled and vote for that. And anybody can vote too. If you love Japanese wrestling, that's the only rule that you have to follow. You have to like wrestling. But anyway, if you don't follow all the companies, that's totally okay. Just put your opinions out there. Everyone is as valid, and we appreciate every single one of them. And also, check out Dramatic Dream Dragons, a show on the 5-Star Network. We talk about DDT and Dragon Gate. I do it with Sandra and Yannick. It's a lot of fun, always fun stuff going on there. Check out Wrestle Update. I do with Nella de Angelis. We talk about American wrestling if you're a fan of that. We just did a show about Final Battle. And the Continental Classic, which we've covered every match of the tournament so far in AEW. And we'll be doing another one talking about the finals. World's End is coming up. Then we'll have our awards. That's just us. And I will do something about the WWE shows next week as well. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but we will do that too. Any major wrestling show in America, we try to cover our best. So check those out. Have some fun. And thank you for listening to this show. Peps is a wonderful host, and thank you very much for having me on once again.
Well, I don't have that much to promote, but of course, check out my Twitter, Peps_Wrestling. There should be always coming stuff from WrestlePrews, of course, with the Joshi Guide and other additional write-ups that I'm doing. Today I posted one on the Stardom main event from Twin Queendom, the story between Suzuki and Maika wrote up. It's gonna be It's gonna be a cool match. The Empress of the era of the Empress is starting in 2 days. For me, in like 18 hours. We are more than ready. No, wait, not in 18. In 36. Close enough. 30. I don't know. It's gonna be a fun time coming up. I have some podcasts coming up. Of course, we have the regular show at the beginning of next month. Likely gonna be a bit later because of all that stuff that's going on in the first few days with Noah, New Japan, Stardom, AJPW, 01. We know all that kind of stuff in the first week of January. And until then, of course, thank you all for listening again. It's got a bit longer than I wanted to, but it's always fun with Dylan here. He will be back soon. There's a lot of people I want to invite. So until then, thank you all for listening. See you next time, and I hope you had a great time watching the show. Enjoy wrestling, everyone. Enjoy the All Japan shows coming up. A lot of stuff, and root for Micah, of course. And with that, bye-bye.